We welcome you to our study of Psalms today. We are in Psalm chapter 6 today, and would encourage you to take your Bible, open up, and read. We'll be looking at a lot of verses today. You might want to get a piece of paper to write down some of the verses that I will give you. We'll maybe be 2 weeks in this particular session because there's just so much here. I don't want to overwhelm you with all of it at one time. But the book of Psalms is a great book, and many people have found that by reading it regularly and journaling some notes, what they find in the book of Psalms has been a tremendous help to them. And you can get this book called Journey in Psalms, and it's my book. I wrote it, but there are 3 volumes to this called Journey in Psalms by Forrest Jones, and it is your personal journey through the book of Psalms. And as I say on the back side of this book, find it for yourself. It is a joy to read what others have dug out of the Bible and shared with us, but reading, meditating, and finding for yourselves nuggets of truth is a greater delight. And that's what I encourage people to do, is take this, and it's self-explanatory. It gives you places to write in. It gives some thoughts about each chapter, but there are 3 volumes, and the first volume covers the first 60 chapters of the book of Psalms, so you may want to start there. They are available on Amazon or in the Amazon bookstore, and you can buy them there. It's just, again, the name of it is Journey in Psalms by Forrest E. Jones. And there's, like I said, there's 3 volumes, but you can get all 3 of them, or you can get one at a time. They're $10 a piece. And we'd encourage you to do that. It'd be a great help to you. So let's read Psalm 6 now and follow along. It's a great psalm. I'll read the whole psalm, and then we'll make some comments about it. We've already done one study on Psalm. If you want to go back and listen to it, it talks about the rebuke of the Lord, but that's in the previous video. But Psalm 6, O Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger, neither chasten me in thy hot displeasure. Have mercy upon me, O God, or O Lord, for I am weak. O Lord, heal me, for my bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed. But thou, O Lord, how long? Return, O Lord, deliver my soul, and O save me for thy mercy's sake. For in death there is no remembrance of thee. In the grave who shall give thee thanks? I am weary with my groaning all the night. Make I my bed to swim. I water my couch with tears. Mine eye is consumed because of grief. It waxeth old because of all mine enemies. Depart from me, all ye workers of iniquity, for the Lord hath heard the voice of my weeping. The Lord hath heard my supplication. The Lord will receive my prayer. Let all mine enemies be ashamed and sore vexed. Let them return and be ashamed suddenly. Now, these verses, as you think about what it's saying, these verses really are the language of a heart that is crushed under some humbling circumstances. It is the language of a broken and a contrite spirit, a spirit that's under great afflictions. If you will, it's the voice of humanity facing those things that seem so overpowering to us that it hinders our ability to live. You know, Eliphaz, one of the, quote, friends of Job, made this comment in Job 5 and verse 7, man is born into trouble as the sparks fly upward. You've seen the sparks fly out of a fire and they just go upward. And Eliphaz said, man is born to trouble in the same way, a constant going up of trouble in our life. And the writer of Psalm 6 is overwhelmed with some sorrow there. Now, so intense is his anguish that it haunts him night and day. It exhausts his frame. It consumes his spirit. Consider these expressions, and that they're throughout the psalm. Let me just remind you. He says, I am weak. My bones are vexed. My soul is also sore vexed, body and spirit. Oh Lord, how long? He said, weary with my groaning. I make my bed to swim. I water my couch with my tears. My eye is consumed because of grief. And all those statements speak of the overwhelming anguish of his soul there. Now, what caused such overwhelming sorrow in David's life? We don't know specifically. We can't really tell. But really, it's not of any consequence in a sense, because the point that is to be noted here is there are not unfrequently times in the experiences of God's people when some care or some trouble or some perplexity is felt, and that it is so severe that we're haunted by it night and day. We cannot shake it off. And even in our time of prayer, we cannot forget it. And, I think about it, and I'm not going to go into any back history of my own life, because I don't want to. I've had a great life, and I thank God for it. I have a marvelous life. But I've had times that sorrow has been overwhelming, and grief has been so enormous in my life because of various circumstances that come. We're all human beings, and we all face these things. They come into our life, and there's gloom within in the psalmist's life here. There's gloom without, and the conscience is constantly accusing him. And God to him right now seems to be full of wrath. Even death is regarded not as a release, but as a minister of judgment, and the grave not as a resting place, but a pit that is loathsome and terrible there. There's darkness. It seems that God is hiding himself. There's dreariness, and the soul is left with sad and dark thoughts there, distressing thoughts. There's depression. The ghosts of the past are rising up to haunt him, and these nameless terrors keep coming after him. And so this is what the psalmist is saying here. Now, there are three things that the psalmist seems to complain of here. Number one, there's the sickness of his body. He felt it in his body, whatever it was. Now, maybe there was a physical disease, but maybe it was just the perplexing issues of life bothered him so much that he felt wearied in body. I think you understand that, because if you faced them, you felt wearied in body. But obviously there's the trouble of the mind. I mean, these things keep coming, and we look at ourselves. We ask ourselves, why is this happening? Have I sinned? Have I taken care of my sin? Is this something that God is allowing for me for other reasons? Our mind can be a terrible thing to deal with. But then the insults of the enemies rising up on various occasions are also problems there. So I had these three things: the sickness of his body, the trouble of his mind, the insults of his enemies. And all men, great and small, are subject to the common calamities of human life. Now, David, we know, was a stout man. He was a man of war from even early in his life, yet he could not secure himself from the difficulties which make even the strongest of men to bow themselves down. And this is what he's doing here. Jesus told us, when he told it to his disciples in John 16:33, he said, in this world, all right, in the world in which we live, ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now, we like the fact that he's overcome it, but when we're in the tribulation, we're wondering, when is the overcoming coming? But this is a promise we have from Jesus. And most of us would prefer not to have the tribulation, but just the victory in our life. But we're going to have it. The Greek word that Jesus uses for trouble here is philpos. It's a fascinating word because it literally means to press, to squash, to hem in, okay, or to squeeze in on all sizes, to pressure, to compress. It's used in a spiritual sense of oppression, harassment, affliction, distress, hostility, tribulation. Have I touched on something you're dealing with? You see, we're all dealing with these things. And in Psalm 6, David seems to be squeezed in, pressed down by two factors. One, he was beaten down by sin. Now, whatever the sin was, whether it was that with Bathsheba or something else, David is speaking of it here because he says, Oh Lord, rebuke me not in thine anger. Now, David is not saying that God should not rebuke him or should not discipline him. David understood that God was holy and God would discipline his children. But what he's saying is, don't do it in anger. And perhaps we feel guilty over a sin that just continues to defeat us again and again, and that is hard. We want victory. We want to overcome it, and we confess it, and we say, Lord, I'm not going this route again, and we find ourselves there. And so we need to find that this is one of the things that presses us down. But then he was beaten down by troubles. Remember, there are two sides to Satan's vice grip, if you will, okay? First, he tries to squeeze God out of our life due to guilt over sin. In other words, I feel so guilty, God doesn't want anything to do with me. And so he tries to squeeze God out in that way. But next, Satan tries to squeeze God out of our life over the grief from our suffering. We feel guilty, we feel that God doesn't want us, we're grieving, we wonder where God is, and the devil wants God out of our life. It's hard enough when we deal with one of these, but when we feel both of them, it is just very difficult in our life. In all of our lives, these factors come together: guilt over sin, grief over my suffering, and that's a difficulty there. It's like a double blow, a hard jab, a strong punch. But then we see this. In addition to that, he seems to be beaten down by the silence of God. He's wondering, where is God? And in these times when we are pressed down, we wonder, where is God? It seems that God is silent, or maybe it is that the noise of our difficulties is so great that God's voice cannot be heard. We cannot hear him. When life is to be completely overwhelming and we feel like we are in that vice grip and it's closed steadily, what do? That's the question. You know, we have these things, but what do we do in these times? Well, verse 2, have mercy upon me, O Lord. Have mercy upon me. You see, in his distress, he looks to God for mercy and help in these times. Without the mercy of God, we cannot overcome life's difficulties and life's challenges. You should know Hebrews chapter 4 and verse number 16. Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may find mercy to help in time of need. God's grace and God's mercy is there. Psalm chapter 4 and verse 1, hear me when I call, O God, have mercy upon me and hear my prayer. Psalm 27 and verse 7, hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice, have mercy also upon me and answer me. And so I want to encourage you this morning. We're going to stop here, but I want to encourage you, whatever time of day it is that you may be listening to this, and maybe you're feeling overwhelmed with trouble and trial and difficulty. Maybe it is some sin that you have dealt with again and again. It has risen up in your life, and you feel like there's just no hope. Maybe it's a circumstance that you have no control over, and you're suffering, and you're feeling grief about that. Listen, turn to God. There is help in God. His mercy is always there. It's an everlasting thing. You know, just thinking about this as I close, I like to read Psalm 103 in the mornings when I am praying, and I'm being reminded of God's mercy, because in verse 8 of Psalm 103, he says, the Lord is merciful, gracious, and slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy. And that's my hope. No matter what's happening, my hope is this, that God is that merciful God. He is a gracious God. He is slow to anger, and he is in plenteous mercy. And today, God's mercy is there for you. I encourage you to find God's help today. Now, I know that some may listen to this video far, far from where I am. But if you're in this area, I would love to be a help to you in any way I can. You can come by the church office and see me. I'm Pastor Jones at the Leon Valley Baptist Church in the northwest side of San Antonio. You can find our website, lvbc.org, or you can email me, pastor@lvbc.org. Any way I can help you, I would be delighted to. And so God bless each one of you. And know that the mercy of God is always there, no matter what we are dealing with.